Candy. David had to leave. David did have to leave. Oh, bro, he coming back.
Just got new.
Looks like the old one.
Okay, maybe.
Okay, well, I don't know. Just leave it down there.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Might look a little weird reverb now.
It is freezing.
No, I'm freezing.
Burr.
I'm so sorry.
This is it. This stuff.
Okay. As always, I will start my report with the comprehensive plan. Our project website, www.nelson2042.com, is still up and running. We have an additional joint work session of the Board of Supervisors and Planning Commission, which will be held June 29th at 6 p.m. And this will entail a review of the final draft chapters and the implementation matrix. Our FY23 budget status, most of our expenditures are tracking as expected, with a few exceptions that were higher than budgeted, and these were included for adjustment in the budget amendment you all approved earlier today. These increases were able to be fully covered by remaining contingency funds. As of June 12th, local revenues exceeded budgeted amounts by 1.46%, or $529,194. This is primarily due to the exponential growth in the lodging tax revenue and interest on investments. Our state revenues exceed budgeted amounts by 0.29%, or $14,939. And this is primarily due to the state's reimbursement of its share of increased CSA expenses. Federal revenue received is less than budgeted by about 30.77%, or $394,000, primarily due to lower than anticipated reimbursement for lower expenditures related to Department of Social Services Administration. Our end of fiscal year expenditure payments will be made over the next couple of days, with final payments made at the end of the month. There's no change in the FY24 state budget status. We're still working from the governor's budget with the adoption of the skinny budget. So we're still waiting to hear what the legislators are going to do in the upcoming months. Our Nelson County Adult Drug Court Coordinator, Christopher Weedle, was hired and began work on May 31st. The first team meeting was held and they began doing referrals last week. The team is waiting to hear back from a number of defendants about their interest in the program, and they are working to identify more potential participants with the hope to get the first participant into the program before the end of the month. This court will be conducted weekly on Tuesdays at 12:30 in Circuit Court. The Opioid Abatement Authority Grant Award has happened. The regional application to the State Opioid Abatement Authority that benefits the member localities of Region 10, including Nelson, Charlottesville, Albemarle, Fluvanna, Greene, and Louisa, was approved contingent upon an operational agreement, or MOU, being put in place with all partners prior to the dispersal of the funds. This grant will fund the expansion of Region 10 crisis response and CTAC services and community outreach services that are currently available to its members. And it's about a $1.3 million grant. Our Virginia Outdoors Foundation PTF grant for the Sturt Park did not get selected. The county was notified that the Board of Trustees did not select the project for the Sturt Nature Park for funding this grant round. They did receive 26 applications for Preservation Trust Fund grants, and we were advised that the selection process included a review of applications as well as an analysis of community demographics, valuable ecological, historic, and cultural resources, recreational opportunities, and environmental justice data. Jerry West will be scheduling an application feedback session with BOF for sometime this week. The fall 2023 grant round will be announced in late June or early July, and approximately $1.8 million will be available for the same PTF program. Those grant awards will be made at the Board of Trustees meeting in October 2023. We do intend to resubmit an application. In terms of the Larkin property master planning, we'd like to get some feedback from the board on scheduling a work session with architectural partners related to the master planning.
So, as soon as possible, I think.
Okay. Is there any other feedback from supervisors on when to get that scheduled with architectural partners?
Just we can all be there.
Yeah, as it
Okay.
said, it might be in correspondence with Mr. Parr, see what his availability is.
Okay, certainly.
I would say in the next week, 2-3 weeks. Yeah. I mean, we do have that joint meeting on the 29th. I don't know if there's any advantage for us to do like that before that. We might also be pretty brain dead. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
I think that would be a great idea, just, yeah,
Yeah.
based on previous meetings.
Yeah, I think the month of June would be advantageous.
In the month of June, you think?
June, maybe, if you can get most of us there.
I'll check and see if what their availability is like in June. So June,
What
July.
would that entail?
So they would just come back, and review with you some preliminary master planning in terms of where they took the priorities you all discussed and gave to them at the last work session we had. And they would have some options for you visually, as to where
So they
those
have
things
done
could go.
Some site planning.
Yeah, they will have done some of that, and you all can look at what they've got, and we talked about potentially having a blank board where if you didn't like the few scenarios that they had, then they could take different elements of the priorities and move them to different areas of the properties for you to just kind of see how it all meshed together.
Are they gonna bring forth any sort of recommendations or anything like that?
Sure. They'll go through some pros and cons of the several options I think they're gonna have ready for you to look at.
We did have the site visit with them a few months ago, and it was actually in the minutes that we approved the fact that we had that site visit down there. So they should have some additional information for us based on.
Yeah, that was the intent
Yeah.
of our last meeting.
I think we need to get busy on that.
Okay, I'll check with them and see when they can maybe do that in either June or July. And make sure everybody can be present, because I know Mr. Forrest and things coming up, so. You too, okay. All right. Well, last week I attended the VLGMA conference, which is the Virginia Local Government Managers Association conference. I did meet a variety of my counterparts from across the state. The theme of the conference was thinking outside the box, which included some interactive sessions on personal and interpersonal wellness, creative management approaches for celebrating our differences and promoting unity, outside the box thinking in economic development and community revitalization, and that was more centered around regional collaboration, intergovernmental relations in a new era for the Virginia General Assembly, and opioid abatement authority grant opportunities and best practices for securing grants collaboratively, and urban placemaking and community development to celebrate diverse perspectives. So it was a great conference, and I enjoyed meeting a lot of folks across the state.
It was a great conference. Forgive me for asking why it was a great conference.
It just felt like, we were all a community of managers trying to do the best we could for our community and just sharing those ideas, and realizing, hey, I'm not alone. There are other people out there like me trying to do the same thing for their community. So it just felt good to get out and connect with those people and hear different ideas and share those with others.
That's good to me.
It was good. I'll put in a plug here for the Juneteenth celebration. This will be held, as you heard, at the Nelson Heritage Center on June 18th at 3 p.m., supported by a funding contribution of the board. It'll include a formal program, Discovering Our Roots, and will feature an art exhibit, photographs, and stories from a local family, and an exhibit on the history of Nelson County Public Schools integration. This will be followed by lunch and activities on the lawn. We also have 4th of July celebrations coming up. The Livingston Volunteer Fire Department has organized community 4th of July celebration events, including a parade in Livingston on July 2nd from 5:30 to 8 p.m. And with funding from the Board of Supervisors, a fireworks display to be held at sunset, which is approximately 9:15 to 9:20 on July 3rd. This will be held at the Nelson County High School, and spectators will be parked in the front parking lot and adjacent field in front of the school to provide for safe distancing from the launch area. And then lastly, the Nelson County Service Authority rate increase public hearing will be June 15th. It's Thursday at 8:30 a.m. at their administrative offices in Colleen. And then you all have received the staff reports in your packet. Any questions?
Thank you, Candy.
All right, thank you.
All right, on to board reports. Ms. Barton?
No. Jail board didn't meet.
Mr. Harvey? Mr. Reed?
One TJPDC report, on Friday, I think, Dylan and I are going to be on a Zoom with a committee for the regional transit governance study that's going on, where they're trying to put together the best mechanism to generate and manage additional funding for the region. And the interesting thing about that call is that it's, Candy, are you part of that call, do you know?
I don't believe I am.
Okay, we'll carry on in your absence. But the interesting thing about this is that they're proposing to have more of a focus on rural than they have in the past. So they're having just a special meeting with us to find out from Dylan and myself what our specific needs are in the county for that study, and how we might be able to get some money for some additional transit projects and infrastructure. So that's coming up on Friday. So that's across the board. Well, that's just a government study.
All right. Had the Thomas Jefferson Plan District meeting. We're waiting, talking more about housing partnership stuff. We are looking at doing hopefully another study. I think many of you may recall when we had that data from 2018-19 time period. You may have seen it in a brief time right before COVID. Just talking about the affordability metrics, what we see as a region. We're hopefully looking to do that again and get it re-updated. As we know, cost of most real estate in our region has increased 40 to 50% in 4 or 5 years. So this is pretty astronomical, coupled with 7% interest rates. So we're going to hopefully do another affordability study of sorts, just to see what we look like as a region once again. As it relates to any other major items, and I'm trying to think if there was anything major that I also attended. I have a ton of correspondence that I need to go through, so I'll skip the rest and wait for that. Moving on to appointments. Amanda.
All right, so we have a few appointments today. Nelson County Economic Development Authority. Mr. Larry Saunders had been appointed to an unexpired term. He does wish to serve again, along with John Bergier, who completed a regular term, and he also wishes to serve. We did not receive any other applicants for that position. Do y'all want to stop at this one and do appointments with that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do this one at a time. So Nelson County EDA, we okay with Larry and John serving again? Mr. Harvey, is that a motion?
Yes.
We have a motion from Mr. Harvey to approve both Larry and John. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Reed. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, Larry and John will be appointed. The Thomas Jefferson Area Community Criminal Justice Board, Mr. Hall retired.
Yes, he served 6 terms, and he was ready to let somebody else take over.
Jim lives over there in Frozen, off Tiber, Horseshoe. And Edith wants to get on.
Yes, Ms. Napier has been an application, and she would be a great
Yeah.
asset, so.
All right, let's go on. Can we get a motion to approve Ms. Edith Napier onto the Thomas Jefferson Area Community Criminal Justice Board?
So moved.
We have a motion from Mr. Reed, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Barton, any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? Hearing none. All right, Nelson County Library Advisory Committee. Amanda?
We are waiting on the application. I should have that by next month, but I do have an interested party.
Is this by district or is it?
It is by district, so this is for the central district position. Ms. Jane Strauss had been appointed and she had passed away. Her husband is interested, we're just waiting on his application.
Okay. So we'll move on to Nelson County Services Board.
Yes, Ms. Vancova
Would like
has
to-
confirmed she would like to continue serving.
Okay, Mr. Barton, that's in your district. You move to put Claudia back on?
Yep.
We have a motion to put Ms. Vancova back on DSS. Do we have a second? Second for Mr. Reed. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to Java.
Yes, we have Dana Quillen, has served the first term on the Java Board of Directors, and she would like to continue serving. And I know Mr. Reed has also requested that we reappoint her to this position.
All right, Mr. Reed, make a motion.
Move to appoint Dana Quillen to the Java Board of Directors.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Barton. Any further discussion? We'll leave it up by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions?
Great.
All right, and then the Amherst Nelson Joint Committee.
Yes.
Great.
This is
to work on workforce development and all that.
yes. And I know Mr. Parr had indicated that he would like to serve. The suggestion at the joint meeting with Amherst was to have two supervisors as representatives.
Do we have a nomination for another supervisor?
I can do it if y'all want me to. So what we could do is we could do one of us and whoever can't make it, the other goes. We do something like that. All right, Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
All right, we'll put Mr. Harvey on. Someone make a motion to put Mr. Harvey on.
I make a motion.
All right, motion for Mr. Harvey to be on. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Reed. Any further discussion?
So is that a motion to appoint both?
Both
Mr.
Davis.
Parr?
Yes, I'm fine with that, Mr. Parr and Mr. Harvey. And I'll be your, if you can't make it, I'm gonna go in your spot, all right? Great. Motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Mr. Parr and Mr. Harvey. All right, there's another, while we're on this topic, because I got a email from Farm Bureau. They would like to have 2 board members attend an event on July 27th at 6. This is just to talk about some of their items. Mr. Parr had indicated, I talked to him, he had indicated he was interested in going. Do any of you all wish to go?
What is it about?
They just want to talk about Farm Bureau related items. And we'll talk a little bit about Farm Bureau.
About what?
Farm Bureau. Anyone else here wish to attend that, Mr. Reed? All right, I'll go. I don't think we really need to make a motion. Yeah, it's just, so. All right, since Mr. Parr and I, y'all are, sorry, you guys. Okay, moving on.
I did have one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
So next month, we have now 3 representatives on the ACRJ, the jail board. Mr. Barton is our 3rd representative. When y'all voted that in last year, we made it to where it could be either a board member or a citizen member. Now, this 1-year term will run out next month, so that's something to decide. If Mr. Barton would like to continue in that capacity,
I would like to.
he could certainly do that because the position is flexible. So that's not till next month that we have to do it, but just something for you all to think about, and I think.
Could we do that now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and put Mr. Barton back on that.
Okay.
Mr.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second, Mr. Harvey. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, great. Any objections or sessions? Hearing none. Moving on to Agricultural and Forestal District Advisory Committee.
Is that on there? Yes, we are re-advertising that vacancy, because Mr. Reed is now our board supervisors member.
Gotcha.
So we just need to find a new producer member. So if you have anybody in mind that may be a good candidate, it's not by district, it's as a county.
All right, so we'll continue to advertise for that. Anything else before we leave appointments? Go on to correspondence. Okay, here we go. We're going to move on to correspondence. Mr. Reed, you go first.
I have,
All right, Mr. Hart. Mr. Barton. No. Okay, correspondence. So other than VDOT items, which I will forward on to VDOT, some of them, I'm glad to hear that they actually did get to see some of the commentary. It was very interesting to hear about the issues with mowing. I had a few other correspondence recently. One of them, and I need staff's help with figuring this out, was the method of assessment for personal property. So if you have a vehicle, it is my understanding, and I'm learning a little bit, I had a little bit of correspondence with our Commissioner of Revenue. You can get the county utilizes JD Power as the method of assessing a vehicle, and not another entity such as Kelly Blue Book or any of the other providers of that information. I'm curious as to who chooses that method. Can you comment on that?
And as far as I know, it's the commissioner's choice.
Okay.
And I don't know if she also told you that they use 90% of retail.
Okay.
That's the parameter from the assessment company that they use.
Gotcha. So it is my understanding, and I'm just curious because I've never heard this, is to what is the metrics? If you look at vehicle, do you take mileage into consideration? I know tags obviously are a factor. You know how that works. I'd like to kind of understand that a little bit better, what the method of that assessment is and who the deciders of that method are. I would assume it is the Commissioner of Revenue as well, but I just like to confirm that.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
And the only reason I bring that up is I've had some constituents bring up that they have very depreciated vehicles and they're extremely high mileage. Of course, there's a big difference between a JD Power assessment versus a Kelly Blue Book, and I believe there's another one like Carfax or something of that nature. So I'll be interested to kind of learn a little bit more about that. You can just email me that info. Wonderful.
I'm curious, what happens, let's say, an antique vehicle?
Right.
Is that personal property?
I would hope so.
But
Don't you get special tags?
it's not, I don't think it's taxed.
Which is funny because those things can be like $100,000.
Yeah.
More than that.
Yeah.
I think it'll be more or less of what they, 1930.
Yeah, like Model T shows up. Yeah.
It's gonna be, yeah, it's not gonna be,
There's one guy who drives one around still. Okay. So that was correspondence there, Farm Bureau. There was another metric that I kind of wanted to see more info on in one of the reports related to Commissioner Revenue. Shows what we bring in monthly for transient occupancy. Is there any chance that you might be able to make a graph of what year over year looks like? I just want to see what May last year compared to May this year looks like, especially since the method of enforcement changed in October. I was just kind of hoping if we could see that year over year, what the monthly revenues are, what that change could look like. Because if we're going to be continuing to discuss transient occupancy tax, I want to be able to see how enforcement has impacted that. I think that would be an interesting one. And that, you could just correspond that, right?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if her
Reports don't provide that.
her numbers may or not match up with our financial accounting system. I have to double check that, I'm not sure. Just in case you're looking at our revenue reports and then you're looking at her report, they may not
Yes.
match up exactly.
Yes.
I'm not sure where she's pulling her data from.
it would also be interesting, since you bring this up, it would be interesting to look at the trends in terms of business license for short-term rentals. both those that are, continuing new, how many we have and how many have closed out over the year, because we get people that, stop their gas as well. So,
Right. I don't even know if sometimes they even let her know. I don't know how that works.
I mean, under the business license,
It's a year.
revenue is greater than budgeted, but it's probably due to short-term rentals for the business license.
Certainly.
Yeah.
All right, so, as far as I know, that's all the correspondence I can think of. But the personal property assessment method, I would certainly be more interested in how that's decided and what maybe some of the folks around us do as well. Okay, I have no other correspondence, and that was kind of a select directive too, so let's go on to directives.
There's a director.
Yeah, directives, or any directives. All right, Mr. Hart. Great, let's get a motion to staff. Is there anything else before we continue our meeting to 7 o'clock?
I don't believe so.
All right, let's get a motion to continue the meeting at 7. Motion from Mr. Harvey, is there a second? Second from Mr. Reed. All those in favor say aye. Aye. You guys?
So do you think that